Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means that it is time for us to talk about coping with feelings. Thank you. Sorry, I was a couple of moments late here. Just life is a bit strange for me at the moment. Let me see who's here. Hi, Angela. Good to see you. Jody, always good to see you. Just wanted you to know that there will be no broadcast tonight. I'm going to do this one, but not the one tonight. And I'm certain you'll all understand that when you hear what's been happening to me. Anyway, so hi to Jody, our admin. Hi to Sandy. And I see that Hawkeye is here as well. So big thank you for being here to support me and everybody else. Let's just go in for our usual thing. I didn't really know what to call this one other than the fact that I was a bit stunned, as you will find out. But I just want to say, for those of you who are new to DearMamaSal, and hi to Chris, Max's dad, Chris, good to see you as well. I just want to tell you that today I'm going to be talking about what happened to me when I went in for a very minor type biopsy. And so for any of you who are overly squeamish, be aware that I'm going to be talking about that. And so I wanted to give you a heads up. To me, it is what it is, and it's practical, and we need to know about it, and we need to talk about it because it can save lives, as you will hear. Before I get on to this, though, I'd like to just say hi there, Jeannie. I wanted to just wish Andrea in Berlin a very happy birthday. And for those of you who don't know, we have Canadian Thanksgiving coming up on October the 10th. I know it's not the same as the American one to the Americans, but it is what it is. And I definitely wanted to make sure that you knew, in case you got any Canadian friends. Thoughts and prayers for everybody that might need them this week, as usual, and particularly for Lauren, who's waiting for the results of her scan that she had this week. And also, obviously, for anybody who is in the path of Hurricane Ian, and either just in the past couple of days or about to be. And also, I wanted to say that thoughts and prayers for Sharon, who, had her fur baby nip pass this week. And some of us know the pain of that. And so, Hawkeye is also adding, and I thank you for that, that today is the Day of Truth and Reconciliation in Canada, where we acknowledge what happened to the First Nations people. And also, it is Orange Shirt Day. And if I had remembered that, Hawkeye, I would have worn an orange shirt. And that is that, meaning that every child matters. However, forgive me for not knowing that. I didn't check today. I've had things on my mind. Doesn't make it right, it just makes it what it is. So thank you all for being here. And the most important thing I can say to every female who might watch this now in the moment, or those of you who might watch it later, please, please, please get your mammogram. And for all you guys out there that have got women in your lives, make sure you get them to understand how important it is to have a mammogram, as you are going to find out as I go through the story. The first thing was that I had, as you will remember, back in August, I had a mammogram. And what happened was the radiologist, thank you, whoever you are, noticed something that he thought was highly suspicious. Now, obviously, that wasn't something that I wanted to hear, but I was okay, that was fine. So because they sent me back for a second one, a deeper mammogram, a bigger squish. And guess what? It came up again, highly suspicious. And so the thing was that on Tuesday, I went in for what was going to be, I didn't bring my, wait a minute, maybe I can do it with a piece of paper. Okay. Let me do this. They were going to do a mammogram, not a mammogram. They were going to do a biopsy. Okay. And the idea was that they would go in and suck out some material. Okay. So basically, they put in a hollow needle and suck out some tissue, and they would do that in a couple of places just to make sure they got what they need. Does everybody understand what I meant by that? So basically, and then they would test that material, that tissue. And I think that's just a basic needle biopsy. Now, there is a second level of biopsy that they can do where they go in and they rotor, if you like. They actually dig around in here and cut out a section, requires a thicker needle. And then they pull out a section of tissue. I hope I'm not grossing anybody out. So I was going in for the easy one, which was put the needle in, suck out some cells and let's go test them. Didn't quite go that way. I went in, and what surprised me was they kept me waiting for about half an hour over the time that I was meant to go in. And when everybody else that had appointments after me appeared to be going in ahead of me, which, you know me, I sort of a little bit of a red flag there. What's going on? And I didn't ask because part of me didn't want to know. Can you relate to that? Anyway, eventually they called me in, and they had me in a chair, and they were going to wheel me up to the mammogram machine because they need to actually compress you before they can do the biopsy. And there was just the feeling about it. I don't know how to explain this to you, except everything about this told me there was something else going on that I didn't know about. Anyway, they got me in the chair, but they didn't actually get me to the mammogram machine. When the radiologist came in, and he started to talk to me, and I could tell that there was more to the story. Okay. And so he was saying to me, what you've come in for is the the basic biopsy. And I said, yes. And he said, we'd like to suggest that you don't do that. And I went, what? And he said, we'd like to suggest that you don't do that, and that you let us go in for what we call a surgical biopsy. And I said, why do I not like the sound of that? And he said, basically, that means that we would freeze you and then cut you and take out a whole section of tissue. And I don't know about you guys, but it was just like, it's amazing what you end up saying when you're in shock. Have you noticed that? Because I remember saying to him, that's not what I came in for. Like, duh. And he said, no, it isn't. But it is what we are recommending. And by the way, the reason you were delayed in coming in here is because we have lined up our top surgeon to be available for you should you decide to go ahead. And I said, I need a second just to I don't know if you guys get me, but it was just like, hang on a second. I need a second just to process that. You're saying that this is important enough to you guys that you've already lined up a surgeon who is on call to come and operate on me. Is that right? Now you understand that was very interesting to me, that they thought it was important enough that they already had the surgeon lined up. And so when I sort of worked through all of that, and by the way, he was South African, and I picked that up on his accent, and we had a bit of a chat about that, of course. Anyway, so then I said, okay, fine. Let me see if I got this right. And I repeated it a couple of times, and I must admit they all left the room for a while. Oh, by the way, I said, just tell me where I need to sign. Sandy's saying not something they should have sprung on you. You probably would have made sure to have someone take you in. I did have somebody take me in, Sandy. You know something? Something told me to get driven there, and Dougie took me. Okay, so anyway, anybody want to see what they were looking at that made them think that? By the way, while they left the room, I went and took a picture because I knew some of you would want to see what on earth we're talking about. And this, what I'm about to show you, has a name, and it's called DCIS. That's D for Donald, C for Charlie, I for ink, S for sugar. DCIS. Right. So, yep. Thank you, Jody. Jody's just putting it up for those that are in the room. So anyway, when they left the room, I decided to take my camera and take a picture of the screen. Are you all ready? And this is what I saw. And this is what they were showing me. Hang on a second, let me get this the right way. Can you see this line here? Okay. In other words, this is my boob, and there are lots of bits floating around, but can you see a very distinct line coming down here? And that is what the first radiologist saw and what the second one saw, and why they put up a highly suspicious warning. Now, that's called DCIS, and DCIS is basically a technical term. And I'm going to read you what it is so that you can understand, and for you to realize how important it was that I had that mammogram. And then that's the real thing that I want to, the whole reason I'm doing this broadcast for you. DCIS is a condition in which abnormal cells are found in the lining of the breast duct. Okay, so what you've got are these cells lining up here. Okay. If you like, getting their ducks in a row. The abnormal cells have not spread outside the duct to other tissues in the breast. And in some cases, DCIS may become an invasive breast cancer. Can you understand how lucky I was, all right, that it showed up as it did? Also, it's also called ductal carcinoma in situ. In other words, it's cancer of the breast, but encased in that duct. Now, that's what it could be. Now, I'm saying that's what it could be because we don't know that it was until they finish the biopsy and I get the results. Makes sense. But they were worried enough about it on all levels that they had me do 2 different mammograms, that they then had a surgeon lined up ready to deal with me if I said yes. So I sort of went, okay. If you guys are that concerned, I think I need to be too. Does that make sense? It was just like they really wanted to do that. And I don't think it was because they'd make extra money. You know what I mean? It was just like, you could tell that they thought that was really important to do enough that they had a surgeon lined up ready to deal with me if I said yes. Well, actually, in the time that we were talking about it, the surgeon was called into OR to deal with something else. So even though I said yes, I had to wait. And that's a whole nother story. By the way, are there any questions yet? Just in case any of you are wondering, you have questions and you don't want to ask, please ask away. I will answer whatever I can. In the meantime, in order to get ready for the surgery, and by the way, that was going to be done under local, not, they weren't going to put me under, full-blown anesthetic. They told me they would freeze me and do it under local. And I went, okay, if you say so. And in the meantime, the radiologist said, now what we need to do, and this was interesting. You remember I showed you this picture. Hang on a second. What they said they needed to do was to put in 2 wires. One at the very top of where they could see these cells accumulating, and one past the bottom of it. All right. So they knew this was the top end was clean, and this was the bottom end that was clean. And that was so they put in these wires so the surgeon would know, take out everything between those 2 wires. And when he went to do that, by now I'm in the mammogram machine, and they got me pinned to the mammogram machine. And the guy said to me, this is going to be a bit of a pinprick. And he put in the first wire, and I looked at him and I said, sir, with due respect, you lied to me. And he looked at me and said, I'm sorry. And in what way? And I said, you told me that was going to be a bit of a pinprick. And quite honestly, you and I both know that was a whole lot more than a pinprick. And the only reason I'm mentioning it to you right now is I know you need to do a second one. And now I'm a little scared. Okay. I want to tell you, that was more than how many of you have had your ears pierced? And I don't know about you guys, but I thought getting my ears pierced wasn't going to hurt until I had the first ear done. And then you realize you've got to have another one done. And the fear level of the second one, was very different to me. Anyway, so I'm pleased to tell you that they actually put some freezing in for putting the second wire in, and I thanked him for that. I guess the story that I want to tell here is, Jody, what I felt was about the same as that, and it's more than a pinprick, as you know. And already, you understand, I'm dealing with shock. I'm dealing with all sorts of things. So I knew that anything I could do to protect myself was going to be important at this point. So they got the 2 wires in, and as I said, during that time, the surgeon was called into OR for an emergency. And so then I waited, with 2 wires stuck in my boob. And they had me in what I would call a minor surgery room. It had all the lights and everything. But obviously the staff all used it to store their purses and things. And they left me in there with all the purses. You know me, I'm sort of looking at this and I'm going, it's a good job that I am an honest person, because I could rip off all these purses, without any problem at all. And so the next nurse that came in, I said, hey guys, you need to know something. All your purses are here. I could have stolen from all of you. And the main nurse who was looking after me and said, yeah, we knew it was you. And I said, meaning? And she said, yeah, like you would rip us off. And I said, do you understand that the best con artists are the ones you would never suspect? So the fact you would never suspect me is a good reason to suspect me, because it's the little old lady that you don't expect it from is likely to be the one that does it. So anyway, they all laughed about it. However, no questions. I'm amazed there aren't any questions. Wow. So the surgeon came in, female, and she was a breath of fresh air. I mean, I don't know about you, but if you're going to be in this situation, what you want is a straight shooter, if you like. She was older, not, which made me, made me a bit more comfortable. I don't know why. How did I keep myself calm? Good one. I'll talk to that in a second. But she was older, and I found out that she was actually I believe one of the top breast surgeons there. And luckily, she also knew my doctor enough that she called him by his first name. I didn't offer his first name, but she later talked about him with his first name. And I that made me chuckle, because I thought, okay, you do know him, and you know him enough to call him by his first name. That was interesting. So anyway, Jody's asking, how did I keep myself calm? Emotional intelligence, Jody, in a couple of words. All right. What did I know? I needed to let go of the emotion. I needed to know that this was the right decision to have made, and then let it go. Don't second guess the decision. Once I said yes, I just literally needed a couple of moments to get off the hamster wheel and realize that what were the facts? The facts were, without a doubt, these cells were lining up in a row. These ducts were in a row, and if they got out of that duct, I would have invasive breast cancer. You understand that it's like, that's a fact. So therefore, getting rid of that duct wasn't a maybe for me. I was actually, Jody, you know me well enough to know how my mind works. I just literally said, thank you. Yeah, Jody's saying it sounds like you barely had time to process your thoughts. Quite honestly, the radiologist was very good in telling me, Sal, we need to tell you, you don't have to have this done. You do understand that. You just let us do what you came in for and go home. But he said, I wouldn't be being fair to you if I didn't tell you that what we're looking at, you're going to find out that we're going to call you back, and you're going to have done what we're suggesting you get done right now. All right. How did they get rid of the duct? I'm going to explain that next, Kimmy. As long as you all have got strong stomachs, we'll be fine. So anyway, I'm chatting to this surgeon, and you can tell she's been doing this a long time. And I said to her, first of all, you know me quite well, you guys. And I said, I just want to thank you. Thank you to the radiologist that picked this up. Thank you for making yourself available to me. And I'm so grateful to have somebody of your caliber doing it. And she said, well, I've been around a while, so. Anyway, whilst we're chatting, she's getting me covered up, and the big lights are coming down and all that sort of stuff. And she said, okay, what I loved is she just talked her way through the whole lot. She just said, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm now going to, put in, you're going to feel little pinpricks, because I'm going to put in a whole lot of numbing stuff. We're going to numb your whole boob. And I said, okay, that's good. And I could feel that, and it wasn't painful. I was aware. It wasn't like the wire thing. It was just, the same sort of momentary. You could just feel the needle going in, but it wasn't painful at all. And there were lots of them. You could tell she was going all around my boob. And then she left it a little while, and then she obviously did some tests, and there were a couple of areas that were still a little, I could feel the pinprick, and so she put some more in. And then she went away for about 5 minutes, I would think, while it all took, what do you call it? It took hold, I guess. And then she came back in again. And when she came back in again, she, again, was absolutely very matter of fact, and said, okay, let's get at this. Now, very interesting what she said, because she said, so you're going to feel two different things. And I need to make sure that you understand the difference between the two. And the first one you're going to feel, the first thing that you could feel is pain. However slight, I need to know if you feel any pain, because that I can help with. Make sense? She said, now the other thing you're going to feel is a lot of tugging and pulling and quite honestly, having been through it, I would have to tell you, you know, when you're cutting a steak, you sort of, and that's how I would describe it. And she said to me that that's what you're going to feel, but until you felt it, you don't know what that feeling is like. So I said, okay, thank you for the definition between the two. So, and she said, hold on to the nurse's hand, and if you feel any pain, press her fingers, which I think is a natural reaction. All right. If you feel any pain, they were waiting for that natural reaction from me. And so I felt a bit sorry for the nurse because I had a feeling I could probably crush her fingers. So, she was quite slight. Cute as a button, but quite slight. So off she started. Now, here was the fascinating thing for me. After she had started, I could tell the difference between the two things that she said, all right, which is I could feel her sort of going in there, and then I could feel her starting to cut out the section of tissue that she wanted. And then I felt just a twinge of pain, and I didn't bother with the fingers. I just said, okay, I can feel something now, and it's not you tugging and pulling. And she said, okay, thanks. And she literally just took a syringe and went, and I said, oh, that was quick. And she said, that's exactly what I need you to do. Anytime you can feel the slightest thing, just tell me, and I'll just zap you. We had this I know this is difficult to believe, except some of you know me pretty well. We had this incredibly collaborative discussion going on. And then we started to talk about gardening. I remember, we were talking about that, and then particularly vegetable gardening. And it was just so funny because, you wouldn't think that we were doing what we were doing if you listened to the conversation. And then I suddenly said to her, why are you suturing inside my boob? She looked at me. She looked at me and said, how do you know that? And I said, well, here's the thing. They've got those bright lights. Hang on a second. Pointing down at you. Well, they were sort of like lots of little lights. And if you were really careful, which you am, if you looked between where the lights were, there was mirror there to add reflection, to add more light, right? And I worked it out that if I really concentrated, I could concentrate on a piece of mirror, and that mirror, if I got the right one, it could show me exactly what was going on. And I was fascinated. I mean, but I was just, I could see her busy suturing inside, and I'm not quite sure what she's up to there. So I thought, well, why don't I just ask? Anyway, quite honestly, she had difficulty not bursting out laughing after she went into shock. Yeah, she did say that later, Jody. Jody's saying, only you. But even you could see her face. How do you know that? I said, because if I look very carefully between the lights, there are bits of mirror, and I've got a bit of mirror that is just perfectly positioned so I can see what you're doing, is why. And I said, and here you are going towards whatever it is that you're suturing. I just want to know, what are you doing? And from that point onwards, how many of you can imagine this? She and I are having this collaborative discussion while she teaches me what she is doing. And it was, it was like I was a medical student. And she goes, okay, so you can see where I'm going in here. And she said, yeah. And she said, well, I'm actually suturing off that vessel, blood vessel. And I said, is that important to me? No, Kimmy's saying, didn't they put a tent over your head? No, I didn't want one. They had something blocking me from seeing her, but what they didn't realize was I was smart enough to look up and back down again with the reflection from the lights. And I could see what was happening. Because I wanted to, you know that. So it was fascinating, people. I just got to tell you. And this pulling and cutting that she was talking about, you really got a sense of how difficult it was to remove that tissue. So Yeah, Jodie's saying that's the MacGyver training. She always calls me Mrs. MacGyver. Well, I was genuinely interested. Wouldn't you be? I mean, I've seen enough, I've had enough horses and dogs and all the rest of it, to have seen a few things go down. And so therefore, I wasn't on the hamster wheel of emotion. I was just onto this is very interesting fact. I've never seen this done before. And I was quite honestly fascinated. I don't know if I ever told you, but I once woke up in the middle of a major operation. They had 17 stitches worth of slicing me down my center, and I woke up. And I remember lying there saying, am I meant to be able to see all you surgeons leaning over my body? Because I don't think so. You should have seen these surgeons all go, what? And Fred, who was the anesthesiologist, whatever, and anesthesiologist, he said, I got it. The next thing was I was under again, but literally for that split second, I was actually watching them, and I wasn't sure if I was dreaming it. That's why I asked if I should be able to see them. So, it was just like, it didn't worry. For some reason, it didn't worry me at all. It was just fascinating to me to actually be able to see it happen. And, she literally talked me all the way through it from that point onwards. And the only thing was, I don't know how many stitches I've got. This is, this is like, you can't see this, but this is all bandaged up now here. When I say bandage, it's got a compression bandage on it. And that will come off tomorrow, and I'll be allowed to shower. I am so glad you can't be near me right now. But they sort of finished with me, and I was so grateful that they had phoned Doug to let him know that I was going to be longer than they thought, and why. Of course, poor Doug, bless his heart, he just about freaked, and came running to the, he stopped whatever he was doing and came back to the clinic immediately because, he was concerned. And he actually got to talk to me before they did the operation. And I said to him, honey, I'm fine. They're just going to take this out while they can. So, yes, they cut me open and took out that duct, Kimmy. All right. So they cut me open down here, and they took out from here to here. That whole duct they took out. Quite honestly, the best way I can describe it, they took out tissue about the same as my thumb. I would say that was about the length of it and about the width of it. And I've got big hands, so that was quite a lot of tissue. I'll get a better idea tomorrow how much of a dent I've got in my boob, but that's what I saw. And I literally saw it on the side, where she pulled it out. The fascinating thing is they kept me open while they ran that tissue to the lab. The lab checked it for clean margins. Now, for those of you who don't know what that's about, I do know what that's about because I've had that before. Remember, I had surgery on my back at one time. And yeah, Kimmy, they cut me open. That was the thing I wasn't expecting. But they did ask my permission to do it. All right, so here it is. Let's say that this is the boob and this is the bit that they took out, like this. What they send it to the lab for is, this is what's called the margin here, the outside of it. What they do is they check all those cells around the edge to see if any of them are a problem. If none of the problems on the outside are a problem, then they say that's clean margins. In other words, they've got everything that they were going for. They haven't accidentally missed a bit like this, all right? That if all those margins are clean, that means they've got what they went in for. And, luckily I already knew what that was about because I'd had that discussion with my back. If you remember when I had the stuff done on my back, we had to go in a second time to get a bit more out because the margins weren't clean. But I had to wait for them to do that by a week, all right? Whereas now here, because I was already in the breast clinic, they literally just ran it down to the lab, they checked it immediately and gave the okay. And once they gave the okay, then I could be stitched up again. And I'd already told Doug, go down to the coffee shop and just do what you need to do or whatever, and I will let you know when I'm out of here, and that will be your signal to go to the coffee shop and get me a really nice very large latte with a lot of caramel in it and some sort of sticky bun thing with a lot of sugar in it. Kimmy, I don't know what you just said because, hang on, let me see, I can see. All right, so again, Jeannie, I don't know what you do, Jeannie, but you do manage to knock these comments out when you don't mean to. So, oh, it's unhidden. Thank you, Jody. Thank you for unhiding it. So anyway, the most important thing was I said, make sure when you get when they give you the okay that you can come and get the coffee and the sticky bun first, all right, on your way, because obviously I hadn't eaten, and obviously I was had been through shock. So what do I know? All right, my body needs to come out of shock. So what's the best thing that they give you for shock is sugar. Now, it doesn't matter that I'm pre-diabetic. This is an exceptional case. And I knew that it would be, yeah, I know, Kimmy, she accidentally hit that last comment you made about, did they cut it out? That was all. Anyway, so, and I literally got up. I mean, I waited a little while just to make sure that I was solid. And I literally walked to the elevator to meet Doug, so that I would use as little of his time as I could. And I think he was a bit shocked about that, because I was standing there waiting for him. I just said, "Give me that coffee." And I tell you, it was the best cup of coffee I had had in a long time. So, couple of things. Number one, they put a compression bandage on it, which is really like a big gauze. Yeah, Kimmy, Jody, put it back in again. That's why you can see it. Anyway, so they put a big gauze thing over my incision. I don't know how many stitches she did. I didn't see how many, and we'll know that tomorrow when I shower. And then they taped all of that. All right. So what you can see here is the tape. I don't want to obviously expose everything because I don't want to gross anybody, but you can see bruising here, and you can see this tape was the original tape. Yesterday, this tape, the bandage here, because of the weight of my boob, it pulled away from this tape. That was a bit of a moment of concern. So I discussed that with Jody and Lauren, and we all agreed that maybe I should talk to the nurse online, and I did. And what I ended up doing was I went to my local pharmacy yesterday, and they helped me just tape it back up again. Just, it was just the weight. I changed my bra. It was a different weight. And, the weight of my boob just pulled away from the top one. So it was all fixed up. It's going to come off tomorrow. And I'm not quite sure how easy that will be, but I'll let you know when I do it. However, do you all understand that we don't know for sure what the biopsy will tell me? All right. Were these cells still precancerous, or were they already cancerous? I don't know. But what I've done, because I've done a bit of research into this now, and what I've done is I found out that they actually, if you're lucky enough to find it, Thank you, radiologists. If you're lucky enough to find it, they call it stage 0 breast cancer. In other words, it appears, and if it's not treated, it will turn into breast cancer. Makes sense? The funny thing is that I'm 75, they stopped telling you to go for a mammogram at 75. And they stopped phoning you and telling you need, reminding you need to do one. And it's interesting. The reason I went was because I got a funny feeling up here, and it felt like I had pulled a muscle, but it was still there, a couple of months later. And I thought, no, that's not a muscle pull. So I didn't even tell my doctor. This is the weird thing. I just literally knew I was due for a mammogram and overdue because of COVID. I was already due just before COVID hit, and then COVID hit, and of course I didn't go. So I knew I was behind on a mammogram. So I just phoned them and said, I'd like to book a mammogram, please. And boy, am I glad I did. Can you see that this was the best possible case scenario? Regardless of what the biopsy comes up with, all right? If you remember, what did I do with that piece of paper? Right? If you remember that all these cells were getting their duck in a row to become cancer, even if they're not cancerous yet. So that's why they call it stage 0. How many people are lucky enough to catch it at that stage? I don't think many. I will, when I talk to the surgeon again, I'll find out some more about it. But it was just amazing. And that afternoon, I tried to explain it all to Doug, but he's a man. When I spoke to my doctor that afternoon, he surprised me because he said, I understand that they took you in for a regular biopsy and that you chose to let them take out the duct. And I said, yep. He said, I always thought you were a smart woman. I now confirmed it. So you understand it wasn't something he would have insisted on, but he considered that to be a very smart move. In other words, why would you even take the risk of it developing? Why would I take that risk? Why not get rid of it right now? I mean, I had the pleasure of a couple of guys fondling my boobs, when they were doing the stuff and so forth. And I didn't. The only pain I felt was when that first wire went in, and I stopped the second one hurting me. So, I'm going to have a scar on my boob and a little less mass than I had before. No big deal. What do you think? I don't think that's a big deal, do you? And the thing is that while I was chatting to the surgeon, I said to her, let me make sure I have this discussion with you before I forget. And she said, what's that, Sal? And I said, could you tell me, in your view, as a specialist of breast cancer, how often should I now be having a mammogram? Because we know they're not going to tell me to have one. So what is your recommendation? She said, have one every year. I said, thank you. Well, Jody's saying, I'm so thankful that you immediately booked that first mammogram. I'm hoping that this story is solid enough that anybody who happens to listen to this or hear it will think twice about not having one. In other words, what if I hadn't had this mammogram when I did? You understand, the second one would have been a long way away. You're right. And by then it would have been dangerous. Now, I did also ask my doctor, and I will have that discussion, obviously, with the surgeon as well. What are the chances that this wasn't the primary site? What if, because, like, I'm a risk manager. I want to know what the risks are. What if this wasn't the main site? What if this is the secondary? right? And we don't know that, obviously, but unlikely is what I heard. This is a condition that is quite common, although rare, it isn't found very often. But it's quite common to have this. And I look at it and go, okay, fine. And I said to my doctor, isn't there some sort of, overall test we can do to see if I'm not carrying somewhere else? So, the answer I got was there is one other test that he would recommend, and we're going to do that because obviously no smoke without fire, as far as I'm concerned. All right. I just want to be as sure as I am that I'm doing the right things at this point. So I don't know about the rest of you, but I think I'm incredibly lucky. It's sort of like I am stunned at how lucky I was. I am stunned that I live in a country where we take breast health very seriously. I am stunned at the speed. You have to understand that in Canada, normally it takes 3 months to get to a specialist. All right. And look at that. I had my first mammogram in mid-August. I had the second one the 7th of September. And by today, I not only had that removed, but I am going to be able to shower tomorrow. That's so exciting. The only thing post-op, just so that you know, the only thing that they asked was that I didn't lift anything over 5 pounds. What would 5 pounds be? A couple of bags of sugar. All right. So hang on a second. I hope that's true. Jody, or is it a 5 pound bag of sugar? Okay, 1 bag of sugar. So I have to keep converting from kilos to pounds. That's the only thing they said. Don't lift anything over that for the first week. And I want to tell you, that cuts out a lot of things. When I thought about it, that cuts off lifting up my hose pipe and watering my garden. They actually did mention, if you're a gardener, don't do any gardening. Apparently, gardening is more exercise than most people realize. You do a lot of bending and stretching and lifting and doing stuff when you're gardening. And they specifically said, if you're a gardener, don't do any gardening for a week. I said, I'm glad you mentioned that because I probably would have thought that would have been okay. And they said, absolutely not. Anything that could raise your blood pressure, you need to not do it. So I wasn't allowed to sit on Billy, my mini bike. I sit and watch television and pedal. Not allowed to do that. But of course, also not allowed to shower, which is the big thing, as you can tell. And my hair, you're probably wondering how my hair is still looking halfway decent. Luckily, I've got talcum powder, and that's called dry shampoo. So, but aren't I lucky? And that's really all I can keep saying. Then, by the way, they said I needed to go back on the 13th. No, originally they said, I think about the 13th to go and see a doctor to get the results. And I noticed that the name of the doctor they gave me was not the one who did the surgery. And I sort of was a bit, that sounds weird, but never mind. Anyway, luckily, no coincidences, luckily they phoned me to change the appointment. And when they changed it, I said, okay, seeing as you're changing it anyway, is there any way that I can see the surgeon who did the incision rather than this person I don't know? And they said, what? And I said, well, this particular doctor did the incision. And is there any way I can get to see her for those results? And they said, you'd have to wait an extra week. And I said, I don't mind. I don't know about the rest of you, but waiting an extra week to talk to the person I already have a pretty good talking relationship to, and I know that she tells me the truth, and I know she knows I can handle the truth and watch the incision, that to me was pretty important. And I wanted to make sure I had a strong connection with her in case, what happens next might be more important. Right. So now then, how many of you want to know what was the pain like? And, the reason I'm doing this, in case any of you have to have this, I think it's really, really important that you know that this was not painful to me. Other than that first wire going in was pretty owie, but then I stopped the second one being owie. It's okay to be a wuss, people. It was just like, that was not a pinprick, buddy. um, so yeah, I think it's really important for people to know. So what they did is when they sent me home, and said, "Have you got Tylenol at home?" And I said, "Yes, I've got Tylenol for arthritis." And they said, "Even better." The first thing you need to know is before they did the incision, they double checked that I wasn't taking any blood thinners. If I'd been on blood thinners, they wouldn't have been able to do it that day. They would have had to get me off blood thinners, because that would decrease my blood clotting, which means when they did the incision, I could have a lot more bleeding than was necessary. So they need to make sure you're not on blood thinners, which I wasn't. And I was a bit confused whether my blood pressure meds were blood thinners or not. That's what I didn't know. And they said, "No, that's fine." By the way, I was complimented on the fact that I carry with me, and I thought I would mention this to you as well. I carry with me in my purse, in my wallet, copies of my actual medication slips that I get from the pharmacy. I have them on one piece of paper, photocopied. So when anybody says what medication you want, I just pull out this piece of paper and they know it is exactly right, because it is the script given to me by my doctor and fulfilled by my pharmacist. And I have it folded up in my wallet with the word ICE on it. For those of you who don't know, ICE is in case of emergency. All right. So, and I have it in a section that I've labeled medical. Right. So if ever I get rushed to hospital, all right, they will open up my wallet to see my my identification and things. But what they also will see is ICE, in case of emergency. That has the medication I'm on. That says that I'm pre-diabetic. It says I have an allergy to garlic. Right. All that is on this one piece of paper. Anyway, they actually complimented me and they said that is so smart to actually have the actual no questions asked about whether you wrote it down incorrectly, the actual piece of paper. And I said, "Thank you." And they said, "Why don't people think of that?" And I said, "I don't know. I'd like you to get it right, not wrong." That's my feeling. That's why I carry it. So to me, this is, hang on a second. I just see that Erin's left me a note. Hang on, let me see. Oh, okay. Erin's got an update. I'll go back to my story in a second. She said, "Hi, just checking in with an update. I was supposed to get my stitches out yesterday, but we need to, oh, but the incision, the stitches began, the incision started to open up on her back. So I've had to wait another week. We'll try to get them again." I actually passed the positive, she tested positive for COVID a few days after surgery. Luckily, it was a pretty mild case, and on Wednesday was my last day of quarantine, so I survived it. Way to go, Erin. But I'm okay now and just have a little bit of a cough left, and I hope everything is well with you. I saw something about a biopsy. I will have to watch the broadcast later to see what's going on. Anyways, I just wanted to update you. Oh, and some good news. I had the last fitting for my chair on November the 18th. So hopefully I'll get to take it home on November the 30th. Isn't that exciting for her? Which will hopefully mean I will be moving shortly after that. Fingers crossed. Anyway, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. As usual, Erin is as concerned about me as she is about herself. Isn't that just typical of Erin? By the way, the chair that Erin is getting, because I think some of you know, she only has movement of a couple of bits of her body. The chair actually is a gurney, that she's going to have her own special gurney that she can drive around. I think it's so exciting. I can't wait. I hope she sends me pictures. Erin, when you watch this, make sure you send us pictures. We're going to want to see this thing. Sandy's saying, very important and very smart. I have all that on my iPhone Health app, but I will make a copy because I can't for the life of me say the name of the pills I'm on. Exactly. All right. That is exactly why I've done it. And by the way, I'm allergic to one blood pressure medication. So I also have that on there. So do not ever give me this because I'm allergic to it. Well, Jody, that's why I'm doing this broadcast. I know I look a bit pale, and I didn't really get all my makeup on, but it's like I'm good. I wanted to talk about the pain because I think that's really important as well. So remember, they went in and took out that much tissue from my boob. Boob, pretty sensitive area. I think we all know that. And what they told me was, if you got Tylenol, do this, this, and this. They suggested an ice pack. So that was good. Anyway, I came home, but what I did is I decided to talk to my doctor. Why? Because what they tell you is based on what they know about you, but my doctor knows me really well. I'm a poor guy. I feel so sorry for him. Anyway, he's dealt with me for as long as he's been a doctor, just about. I got him as a rookie, just about. So I put through a call, and I just wanted to make sure he knew that I'd gone under the knife because that was important. Anyway, he called me back. And while we were having the discussion and he was telling me that I was a smart cookie to okay the surgery, he said to me, I said to him, got a couple of questions, and one of them is about my Tylenol. And I said, I'm taking Tylenol for arthritis. And he said, how many milligrams? And I said, did you have to ask me the technical question? So just carry on asking me other questions while I walk and find out. So it turns out I'm taking Tylenol for arthritis, and that's 650 grams. And I said, they're telling me I can take Tylenol 4 times a day, I think it was, or 3 or 4 times a day. He said, Sal, don't even worry about it. He said, everything I know about you, if you need to, take up to 2 of those 4 times a day. And if that doesn't cover the pain, then let me know and we'll take you up a notch. And I said, thank you very much. That's what I wanted to know. By the way, I never did take 2 at any time. I took 1 4 times a day to see how that worked. And that worked. So you understand, but it was really good to know that if I needed to, I could go back and take a second one without, doing my body any harm. And so did I feel anything? Oh, happy birthday, Andrea. Very happy birthday. She said, Andrea, for those of you watching it on the replay, is saying, hello, peeps. I just wanted to pop in to leave some birthday cake here. I have strawberry cheesecake and chocolate cake for you all. Yeah, strawberry cheesecake for me, please. And I did talk about your birthday at the top end of the broadcast, Andrea. So very happy birthday. I can't remember how many, and you don't have to tell me. But thank you for thinking of us, and I'm really delighted that how kind of you to pop in on your birthday. That's really cute. 42. Okay, Jody, we'll make a note of that, please, that she's 42 in 2022. So that is awesome. Are you doing anything special for your birthday? And while we're waiting for that reply, so pain-wise, I have to say, been wonderful. Touch wood. It really has been wonderful in as much as I have not felt pain. I have felt the occasional twinge, normally about the time when I was due to take the next Tylenol. But the Tylenol for arthritis really did its job. Enough that today I took one when I got up at 9:30 Normally, I would have had a second one, and I haven't, and I'm fine. I'm actually had already said to my friends that I would probably just try and take 2 today and see if it made a difference. And I don't think it will. If I start to feel the twinge, I will go and take a second one. But otherwise, I don't plan to take one until about 8 o'clock tonight. And the other thing is, I found it really weird that the first night I felt safer sleeping on my couch than I did on my bed. I'm not quite sure why that was, but I listened to my body on that one. Now, I didn't sleep very long because I think part of my body was scared to sleep. Does that make sense to anybody? I think I was scared to turn over. I was scared to pull the stitches, or as Erin was saying about her stitches. So, so that first night I slept on the couch. I find it interesting, and I don't know if this makes sense to any of you, but you remember they said don't lift anything more than a bag of sugar. I kept thinking, if you think about it, people, how do you get up when you're lying down, how do you get up to sitting upright so you can get off your bed? You see, this is my point, which is, why didn't anybody tell me how to get up to sitting position without straining that incision? Interesting. Kimmy's saying that, when she had her pacemaker put in, she felt the same way, all right, almost scared to go to sleep because she wasn't sure, what was going to happen during the night that could mess up with her pacemaker. Totally get it. And that's really how I was too, Kimmy. But I did sleep. The second night I slept in my bed, but I didn't sleep well. Last night I slept in my bed and I slept well. I don't know how well. Let me see if I can see. But I felt like I had a normal night's sleep. Now, I may be wrong, but I think I did. Let's see if I can find that out for you. Yep, I had 6.5 hours, 6.75 hours sleep last night. That's pretty good, isn't it? Now, what I thought I would show you, because this blew my mind, Tuesday was the day. My resting heart rate, this is really important. My blood pressure went up, of course. I had an invasion of my body. Hold on one second. I had an invasion of my body that was bound to go up. But the interesting thing is what happened to my blood pressure and my resting heart rate. This is me fast asleep down here, and this is me waking up and finding my alarm hadn't gone off. You see what it did to my heart rate. Took me right up to there. This is me getting ready to go to the clinic, but that's 11. What time was my appointment? 10. Yeah, this was about the time. All right. This down here is about the time that they were going to do the incision. I had this blood pressure when I was going down, meeting Doug and everything else. That's when my blood pressure went up because I was walking and stuff. My resting heart rate went up because I was exercising, right? And I'm not meant to do that. Of course, Dougie was wonderful. I do want to make sure you all know that. He just wouldn't let me walk to the car. He said, "You sit right here." I was quite happy to walk to the car. No, you will sit right here. And then, of course, he got me into the car and started to put my seatbelt on for me. And I said, "I don't think I want that over my boob." Can any of you understand that one? It was just like, no, I don't think a seatbelt over where I've just had an incision is a good idea. So I put it under my arm and under my boob. All right. And, it was just like, but habit is a funny thing, isn't it? It was same thing, when I went in, they said I was not to wear any deodorant or perfume or anything like that. So many of these things are just habit. Part of your routine is put the deodorant on, put the perfume on. It's, hairspray or whatever it is that you use. It's all habit. And it was so difficult not to do it. Anyway, bless his heart. I just felt so cared for by Doug. He just was wonderful. I have to tell you that. And you could tell he felt helpless because he didn't know how to help me. And I just kept telling him, I'll let you know. If I need you to help me, I'll let you know. I also was so touched with some of my neighbors who made sure to, text me and find out if I was all right. And then one of them last night came over and bought me pierogies and things so that I didn't have to cook. And it was really nice. Kimmy's saying that after her pacemaker surgery, she said, I didn't start sleeping on the pacemaker side until 3 months ago. Things move when I do. Also, I can feel muscle pain, burning and poking. They said it will go away. Yes, that's a very important thing. I could feel that what I did is when I was lying on this boob side, I made sure that I kept my arm under my boob to support my boob. By the way, I didn't take off my bra, right? But I made sure I supported that boob when I did that. And then when I went to turn over, because the side I sleep on is inclined to be this one, I made sure I held that boob, as I turned, and then put a pillow sort of between the two to support it when I was sleeping, sort of hug the pillow. And, it's just like, be smart, don't be stupid. I really wanted to go out and water because we haven't had rain. And, I've got plants out there, including the peppers. Sergeant Pepper and Lemon Pepper are all doing very well, as is Dr. Pepper. And also, what's the fourth one? We've got, first one is Dr. Pepper. The second one is Lemon Pepper, if it turns yellow. If not, it is Sergeant Pepper. Then we got Sergeant Pepper. Then we've got Peter Pepper. Thank you. Yeah, Peter Pepper is also doing well. And I have more flowers. So I'm hoping that they are fine. What I'm going to do tonight is to go out and make sure, because they're undercover. So even if it does rain, they won't get a lot of rain. So what I've decided was think smart. I'm going to fill up a bucket of water that doesn't require any lifting, except the empty bucket. And I can do that with my left hand. I'm allowed to lift with my left hand. I'm going to put that down and fill it. And then I'm just going to take small amounts, like a milk jug, half a milk jug full of water, and feed my pepper. That's the only one I'm really and my tomato plant. Those are the ones I really want to make sure. Yeah, if my flowers don't survive, so be it. But, it's just like anything that I really care about, I'm going to be looking after. So, anyway, so pain-wise, no pain. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like tomorrow. I'm not sure how to get this compression bandage off. So if any of you have had a compression bandage, I'm not sure whether I should take it off from the bottom and work my way up, or from the top and work my way down, or whether it matters a darn thing. Otherwise, probably they would have told me, is my thinking. Don't think it can matter, because they didn't give me any. They just said, take it off on Saturday and then shower. Oh, so exciting. I'm presuming that I can wash my hair, but I'm also presuming I may want to do that carefully with this side, just not don't get overexcited. And then they told me to leave on the strips. In other words, they put the stitches in, and then they've got those bits of tape across to support the stitches. So those stay on until Tuesday. And again, not lifting anything over a bag of sugar until Tuesday. However, I did have this issue about getting upright in bed, because I had to give that a lot of thought. If I'm not allowed to lift more than a bag of sugar. Does it make sense? If you're lying down, how do you get up? You push on with your hands till you're with an upright position. I'm pretty certain half my body weighs a whole lot more than a bag of sugar. So what I decided to do was to, and I'm surprised they didn't mention that. What I did was every time I woke up, I made sure that I got up using my left hand and just used my right hand for stabilization. I tried not to push upright with my right hand because this is where the incision is. What else? Did I tell you I'm looking forward to having a shower? I didn't do as much as I thought I would. I thought I would go stir crazy and end up, crocheting a lot and binge watching a lot. But quite honestly, I didn't. I was, obviously watching Hurricane Ian go down. Oh, how terrible must that be? I was watching that, but I binge watched a little bit, but I fell asleep. I did a lot of what I call catnapping, which is great because that's your body. I felt that itchiness, when your body starts to heal, it gets itchy. And I felt that within the first 12 hours, I could feel that itchiness starting. And I was really quite happy about that. That was pretty impressive. So there I am. A little bit lighter, but not a lot. a thumb lighter than I was. And I just feel so blessed. Do any of you agree with me that how lucky I was? Kimmy's saying, I kept my arm tight against my chest and rolled over and sat up like sit-ups and also pulled with the good arm and side. Yeah. Yes, but I was surprised they didn't mention that. And I'm going to talk to the doctor about that, maybe that needs to be in writing for people to know, because it's a habit. You've got to think about not doing it rather than doing it. Now, I know that if you got half a brain, you probably would think that through, as Kimmy did. But, I think it's important that we mention that. Now, the one thing that happened, as I said, was that my compression bandage pulled away from this original strip. And what I did was, one of the instructions I had was, if you have any questions at all, contact us. And I tried to do that. But, it was really strange because I have not been able to get hold of the clinic at all, the breast clinic. I phoned, and then there was an automated message. I left a message to say I need to talk to a nurse, and guess what? They called me back while I was in the washroom, and I didn't have my phone with me. And they didn't call back a second time. So this was just like, I want to have that discussion. I think there should be a direct line for, because I was concerned about infection. If my compression bandage is pulled away, it is no longer sterile. And therefore, now luckily I couldn't see any stitches or anything like that. What I ended up doing was I spoke to I don't know if you guys have that in the States, but we have a nurses line here that you can call 24 hours a day. And they sort of have a triage person, somebody that takes your call, finds out what you want. And then when they found out what you want, they then put you through to a nurse that will be able to answer that question. So I ended up talking to a really nice triage person and an equally nice nurse. And funny enough, even the nurse hadn't heard of DCIS. So I educated her as well, of course. But, it was interesting because she didn't know what it was. And I told her, and she said, wow, that's amazing that you picked that up. And I said, I didn't pick it up. The radiologist did. And for which I will be forever grateful. And that I'll be sending some cards out to some people as soon as I can get. I thought I would do a lot of stuff on my die cutting machine this week, but hello, who was I kidding? I just wasn't really up to it. I was fine, my mentality has been fine, but it's just like, yeah, you know, they invaded my body and my body knew it. So there we have it. That's what I wanted to let you all know and let you see that I'm fine, a little pale, big, and I haven't got all the makeup on. But, so grateful and so happy to have a shower tomorrow. And I even, by the way, when this happened, and I couldn't get hold of the breast cancer clinic, I discussed it with Jody and with Lauren, and then we worked it out that the chances were the most important thing was to get it sealed again. And what I did was I discussed that with the nurse when I got hold of the nurse and said, I'm thinking about just going to my pharmacy and having them help me tape it up again. And she said, that's actually very smart. So that's what I did yesterday. I got in the car, drove the car, didn't feel, I got power steering with the Jeep. So it felt absolutely fine. I wasn't at all concerned. And the pharmacist helped me tape it back up. It was, it's difficult where it was for me to be able to hold it and tape it in the right way. And I knew I needed a second pair of hands for that. So I was, they just laughed at me, of course. Only you. Yeah. So, but they ended up laughing, which is why I like to go there to make them laugh. And here I am. I've eaten well. I made sure before I even went for the regular biopsy that I had easy food on hand. If I needed to, I could just warm up. But I've been eating well. I've been eating some comfort food. I don't mind telling you that, but why not? So there we have it. Any other questions? Just a reminder, I won't be doing a broadcast tonight. I don't think I should be bending and stretching and cooking up and down, and doing. I'm inclined to work pretty fast when I'm doing a broadcast of cooking, and I've decided I don't want to risk that. I will do Sunday, and if necessary, I'll do it sitting as well. We'll see how I'm doing by then, but I'm certain I'll have wonderful stories about being able to shower. And yeah, wasn't I lucky though? So please remember, please tell the story to other people. Tell the story. If I hadn't had that mammogram, I would not know that those cells were lining up like that in that duct, ready to break out. I don't know about you, but that's just a miracle. That to me is a miracle that they saw that. And so if you hear of anybody that says, oh, I don't want to go for a boob squish, it's uncomfortable, please tell them my story. And please tell them that having that incision and having them take out that tissue was nothing compared to what I would have had to have had done if I missed it. You understand? It was nothing. I cannot tell you how grateful I am. And small price to pay, I think. That's so kind. Jeannie's saying our prayers were answered. So grateful that the surgeon was ready to operate. Yeah, it wasn't that amazing that as soon as they saw what was going on, that before they even talked to me, they contacted the surgeon and said, we think we've got a surgical case coming up. And she said, I'll make myself able, don't worry. And did. I mean, just like, wow. And remember that here in British Columbia, it normally takes 3 months to get to a surgeon, or any specialist. And within 6 weeks, I had 2 mammograms, saw the first surgeon, who, in case I was going to need to be operated on, and that's not the one I ended up having. You know, and when I think about it, it all happened within 6 weeks, start to finish, hopefully finish. I will have the results October the 20th now. It was going to be the 13th, but I wanted to wait the week so I could speak to the same surgeon. So, and that'll be the next point. Do I need to go back, right, for anything? Do they want to do another mammogram maybe in 6 months or less? You know, it's like what the recommendation will be, but I will hear. And hopefully that's the end of that story. It's the luck of the draw. It isn't that I did anything wrong in my diet or whatever. It's just the luck of the draw. And at my age, and I've got fairly, you know, decent sized boobs now. Why is it that my boobs were pathetic when I was in my 20s? And now, yeah, now I don't need them. Now I got big boobs. I don't know why that is. I have really not ever quite worked that one out. So I think God has a sense of humor. So just please make sure you tell the story. And I think the more we tell the story, the more people will understand. Having that boob squish may be uncomfortable, but boy, it could, you know, it could really save your life. And that was all contained within the ducts. You know, it could have been anywhere in a couple of more months, right? And wow. Phew. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much for being here to listen to the story. Feel free to share the video for anybody that you know needs to know. And also understand that my talking my way, how many of you were shocked that I talked my way through this with the surgeon, that she and I discussed, you know, gardening and things, and you know, she gave me a mini lesson in surgery while I was waiting. I'm hoping you know that I know myself well enough to know that I would be at my most relaxed if I was talking. All right, really important. I also want you to know that the surgeon complimented me on reacting the way I did when I felt something a bit weird in my boob. And then this is a point that I want to tell you that horrified me, but this is what she told me. She said, Sal, I'm in the boob operating business for breast cancer, obviously. She said, I cannot tell you how many people I end up having in front of me on the gurney who have got tumors so big that you know, there is no way that that happened overnight. And they just chose to ignore it rather than hear the reality. Isn't that interesting? She said, Sal, you would be horrified to see the size of them that people ignore. And she said, with you, I can do something. With them, I can do so little. And I hope that you understand that my talking through it was twofold. Number one, I knew it would keep me relaxed, which was really important. Number two, I was fascinated. I don't mind telling you. And so was the surgeon. But, you know, it was like I could learn something here, and I could learn something and share it with you guys. Which to me was like, the more we know, being educated about anything is power. And so I look at it and go, I should get some color back. I feel a bit drained still, but that's shock. You know, that's your body going into, you know, it's using everything it can to fix what's been done. There was one thing the doctor said, and I didn't get the second half of it. She said to expect a little bit of swelling because I think what she said was that the body hates a vacuum, and I've taken out a whole bunch of tissue. So what will happen is that the body will try and fill that back up again. I want to talk to her a bit more about that. So it'll rush stuff to that part, you know, and it'll fill up the vacuum, the hole that's there, just for the short term. Yeah, Kimmy's saying maybe the people with those tumors, were embarrassed or in denial. Well, hello, that doesn't save your life. All right, I understand that, but you understand that's what I call hamster wheel stuff. I'll just deny it, and pretend it's not there. Well, it is there. And Sandy's saying, thank goodness you listened to your body. That's what she said to me. I cannot compliment you enough about knowing what your body feels like and knowing that there was just that little thing that wasn't quite right. Why is that feeling weird? And why is it still there? That wasn't a strain if it's still there. Therefore, let me go and find out. And she said, why didn't you even go to your doctor? And I said, I knew what he was going to tell me. And she said, you see, and then I said to her about the stitches. I said, will I need to take them out? And she said, no, they're dissolving. And then she said, did you say, will you need to take them out? Most people go to a doctor to have them removed. I said, oh, I had 17 down my stomach. I took those out myself. And she just looked at me and she said, why am I not one little bit surprised? I said, well, I've had horses and dogs and things, I've done that. She said, your doctor must love you to bits. I said, yeah, not so much all that. I said, there are times when we come to blows quite seriously because he talks, gobbledygook, and I call him on it. And I have no fear of calling him on it. And she said, yeah, I can imagine you would. So, again, think about this. Think about, did I have the right not to have the incision done? Absolutely. All right? All right? Absolutely. I had absolutely the right not to have it done. How stupid would that have been? If I have the opportunity to get it out right now before it has a chance to break out of that duct, hello? Think about that. Yeah, Kimmy's saying maybe people, that are in denial, maybe they're really modest, and they're taught to be modest. And that's why they find it embarrassing. I found that interesting, Kimmy, when I talked to the pharmacy on the phone and said, I'm coming in. I need a pharmacist to help me tape up my boob. I've just had this incision done on my boob, and I need a pharmacist to help me just retape it up. And at the time, she said to me, I'm afraid we've only got a male pharmacist on today. And I said, I don't care. Yeah, whether he's male or female, it doesn't make the slightest bit of difference to me. I need this taped up and I need help. And I need somebody that will care to help me. Funny enough, by the time I got there, the female pharmacist was on. So she helped me. Here we go. Yes. All right. Jody's saying it's worth pointing out that the site of my pain was here and the site of the problem was here. Now, obviously, one of the questions that I am going to be asking my doctor, I asked already the radiologist, so there was nothing where I could feel the pain. And he said, no, that's the interesting thing. So my body was telling me, but that's not where the problem was. The problem was here, all right, this duct here. And, but I will be asking more questions about that. I will be asking, is it possible? Yeah. Kimmy's saying that in a small town, and people could gossip. I want to tell you, I didn't care who gossiped about me. I didn't care that I had guys fondling my boobs. It's like, I didn't care about that. That's not what this is about. This is about, excuse me, what they're doing could save my life. So, the fact that I had possibly have a male pharmacist, handle my boobs didn't worry me one bit. No, Kimmy, I understand what you're saying, that in a small community, all right, some people would be embarrassed about that. I want to tell you, it's not just small communities. How about some cultures that would not be something that they would allow either? They wouldn't allow men to fondle women's boobs, all right, or whatever. So it's not, I totally get it. And by the way, I'm in a small community here where I live. I'm in a small community. And I was grateful for that. Why? I knew the pharmacist really well, you know, and they know me. And I was just like, and they were so careful to let me know, but we only have a man. I said, I really don't care, what gender is available to me. I just need a pair of hands to help me, and I think, again, you understand what I keep saying to you about the emotional intelligence side of it. Let go of the emotions. Right? It isn't about some strange guy fondling my boobs. It was I needed to protect my incision. And I didn't care who helped me as long as there was somebody who knows what they're doing. And, that to me was the most important thing. Somebody that I knew would make sure they were properly sanitized, properly sanitized and everything. And I thought a pharmacist would be more likely than anybody else. So to me, I understand exactly what you're talking about, Kimmy, but isn't that the sad thing? Is that we need to make sure women know this is important stuff. It's not about some guy fondling your boobs, all right? This is really important stuff. And if you're not doing breast exams, and I'm not particularly good at them myself, all right? That's why I am so grateful. Yeah, Jeannie's saying emotional intelligence is exactly right. I let go of all the emotions. You understand, I had that split second, Jeannie, when they told me we want to go in and take it out right now. I can assure you, my little kid inside was having a little conniption on that one. What do you want? Inside I could feel it. And then I went, wait a minute, just let me process that a second. And I literally went, let me just make sure I understood you correctly. You're telling me that what I'm looking at on that screen is a line of cells that are irregular and they are lining up together. And the chances of that, I think they gave me a figure of 90-something% that was precancerous, as far as they were concerned. And I said, am I getting this right? And what you're offering me is the opportunity right now to go under the knife and have that removed before I have a chance to think about that anymore. And they said, exactly. And we have our top surgeon ready to do it. I said, why? I think I'd be stupid to say no to that. Which is what my doctor said. To have that opportunity. And let me ask you a question. Do you think I will regret it if they come back and say, actually, they weren't cancerous cells? I don't think I regret it at all. You see, what I've done is I've erred on the side of life, not on the side of possibly having invasive breast cancer. So think about it. Share the story. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, I'll see you on Sunday. Right now, I'm going to rest, eat, do all those good things. And I really thank you for being here to support me. I value that. And know that I am fine. And I know I'm somebody that's capable of sounding fine even when I'm not. But I am. Actually, I feel really great. And I just, I'm a bit more tired than I would like, but that's about all. And that's because I've been sitting around doing diddly since Tuesday. As soon as I can, and I'm forcing myself to do diddly because I'm not somebody who does that normally. But I am just making sure I give my body every chance I can to heal as much as it needs to. And even when I can do things again, I assure you, I'm going to be careful for the next couple of weeks. Thank you, Sandy, saying have a restful weekend and take care of yourself. I intend to do that because we need to have more discussions about things. The same thing as, everything that happens to Erin or everything that happens to Jody. By the way, Jody got a new chair. She got a new lounger chair this week. So we're so happy for that. All right, everybody. We'll see you on Sunday. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you, Jody, for being here, and for the rest of you for the support. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.